Anyway, on to it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a sequel to a movie that when I saw the first one, kind of the second one first, we'll get into it. I was actually surprised how much I enjoyed it. This one, did it match up? Let's talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Jumanji, The Next Level. Did I do a good, The Rock being all smoldery and stuff? Did I do a good? I don't know. So anyway, a couple years ago, we had the first live-action sequel to the beloved Robin Williams film, Jumanji. This one was starring The Rock, Jack Black, Kevin Hart, and Karen Gillan. And a lot of people were a little, because after Robin Williams' passing, anytime you do any property that's attached to him, people get a little skeptical. They get a little, nervous. A little, I don't know. Even with a great cast like this, I mean, let me repeat that again. You got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. You got Jack Black, Kevin Hart, Karen Gillan. That is a hell of a lineup there, ladies and gentlemen. But even then, it gets a little weird. As for that sequel, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, the last one they did, once again, I was actually surprised how much I enjoyed it. It definitely was trying to do its own thing, and I think that was a good decision, instead of just trying to, recreate the magic of the first Jumanji, because in this one, instead of the board game taking animals out of the Jumanji world and into our world, the Jumanji board game has evolved, turned itself into a video game, and they've been sucked into this video game world, and they must survive and get out. It was a fun little film. I really enjoyed it, But now we got this movie, Jumanji, The Next Level. So we do see the four actors I specified earlier return for this film, and who blames them? It was a big hit. And we also see the younger actors return, who are the teenagers who were sucked into the game and became the avatars, the video game characters. But this time, there's a little bit of a twist. Some of them are not in the same game character bodies as the last time. In fact, a couple of them are now being played by Spencer, who was The Rock in the first one. His grandfather is now The Rock, and his friend Milo, played by Danny Glover, is Kevin Hart's character. Karen Gillan is still in her Karen Gillan body. The character of Martha is still Karen Gillan's body, I should say. I don't remember what the name of the character is. Bravestone and Hot Pants? I know I'm wrong. I'm just going to keep calling them by their actors' names because they're all so famous to me. I cannot really call them anything else, even if I do acknowledge that they're playing a unique character. Then you got Fridge, who was Kevin Hart in the last film. He's now in the Jack Black body. And The Rock, the guy who's playing Spencer's grandfather, is played by Danny DeVito. And everything gets set off when our heroes from the last movie, they've moved off from high school. They're all living new lives, and they're all pretty happy. Spencer, life has not been so great for him. And he takes what's left of the destroyed Jumanji game that, from the last film, and he goes back into the game. However, when his friends find out, they go back into the game. They go back into the game themselves to try to save him, and that's when, Danny DeVito and I just said his name. Why can't I remember his name? Danny Glover? Yeah, Danny Glover. Yeah, wait, where is it? Where is he in the thing? Well, IMDb did not put him. It's Danny Glover. Yeah, it's Danny Glover. Anyway, where did IMDb put him so low? Where is he? What the hell, IMDb? Why is he... There's Danny DeVito, Kevin Hart, Colin Hanks. What the hell, IMDb? There he is. Why is he so low on the list there? He should be way higher. Come on now, IMDb. Anyway, so yeah, we got that going on. So let's get into this. Right off the bat, a lot of this information I've already said was viewed in the trailer. And one thing that perplexed me, I was like, what must be going on in Spencer's life that he would want to go back into the Jumanji world and risk getting killed? Because last time, they almost died. They succeeded, of course. They got out, and they all had character development, and they all became friends, and they're all sticking together. But what's going on so bad in Spencer's life that he would want to go back to that hell jungle? And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to reveal what it is, but here's the thing. It's not that big of a deal. So right off the bat, that irritates me. They show everyone's lives. Spencer's life, it's not so bad that I would risk being killed by a hippopotamus or friggin' rhinos. I'm sorry. It's a poor setup to get them back into the world. You have a haunted video game that used to be a board game that can transform. You couldn't come up with a magical way that they got sucked back into it somehow. Like it turned into like a Game Boy or something, and they didn't, or a cell phone, and they didn't realize they're inside a cell phone game app. But this whole thing, like, I don't want to give away because it's a spoiler, but he really doesn't have a good reason for getting back into the game. Anyway, let's get into it. So in the game universe, once again, Carolyn Gillum does a good job as Martha. I enjoyed her. Kevin Hart is now the Danny Glover character, and well, we'll get to him in a second, actually. Jack Black is now playing Fridge. It's a little weird. Like, is this a... Here's the thing. I don't know how to say this out of the way. Is this a whitewashing thing? Because Jack Black is playing a black man, and it's kind of, I mean, he performs it well, but I'm like, is this whitewashing? Then again, The Rock, who's half black, half Samoan, was playing a white Jewish kid in the last film. So does that, you know what? I'm not even going to get into it. Screw it. Not going to get into it. It's just, I don't know. It's weird. It sounds weird to me, but then again, they're actors and they're doing a good enough job, I guess. Well, Jack Black is. So let's get to it. The Rock and Kevin Hart are now playing these two old man Danny DeVito, old man Danny Glover. And, they bring to this, like, they're old guys and they don't understand the video game, and let alone being sucked inside a video game world. Here's a few problems with it. The Rock, I like him. I think he's a decent actor, and he has a ton of charisma. He's got some range as an actor. But his range does not extend to old man Danny DeVito. Listening to The Rock do his Danny DeVito impression grated on me. It was like, what? I'm an old man. I don't know what's going on. What? What did you say? Took us? It wasn't as funny as I was hoping it was going to be. Like, I needed it to be. And like, it just kind of gets on you. Then you got Kevin Hart's, his character, another old man who speaks too slowly, and his character has information, like in the first game. This character, the Kevin Hart character, is a zoologist, and he has information on the animals and how to deal with them and stuff like that. But his character speaks so slow that he becomes a burden to the team. Now, you would think over the course of the film, these two characters would get over these character flaws, but they really don't. The movie just kind of switches things around switches things around, and they solve their problem in wasn't that convenient kind of way. And in fact, at the end of this movie, and speaking of character development, at the end of this movie, this character's development leads him to make a decision at the end of the movie that makes no damn sense. Like, I see what you're going for, but I'm just like, no, that's not how that works. And like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? That you're just making things harder on yourself. What? I was so confused. I'm like, what? But anyway, is this movie funny like the last one? Yes, this movie does have moments of humor in the last one, but once again, the old man aspect is a problem, because part of the fact of, The Rock and Kevin Hart's characters are old guys, and they get confused easily and they forget stuff, and that them being old and confused and forgetting stuff, pun intended, it gets old. It gets old after a while. I'm just like, it just stops being that funny. And that's not to say there aren't other funny moments in the film, but it's just, every time I'm having that's good. That's good. It's like, oh, yeah, we get it. You're old. You forget. But he's like forgetting, and like, oh my God. It gets really annoying after a while. I'm just, special effects are okay. I mean, this is a big budget film that's coming out around the holiday time. So did the last one. And the special effects are fine. They needed a little more. Like, if this was TV, these special effects would be really damn good. But, yeah, there's definitely moments in the film where I'm like, that animal is not really there. Not at all. Much like an upcoming Harrison Ford film about a dog. I'm like, That's another movie to talk about another day, I guess. But anyway. Yeah, special effects are fine. The action-adventure aspect of it, pretty good. It's got that kind of a Disney feel to it in terms of like its action style. But yeah, no, I just had so many problems piling. This movie just did not. I just did not have as much fun with this film as I did the last one, and I'm a little disappointed in that aspect. In fact, you know what? So, do I recommend you see Jumanji: The Next Level? here's the thing I'll say. Even though I wasn't having that great of a time, I was an audience with the auditorium I was in. There's plenty of other people in the theater. Older people, younger people, families, kids, the whole deal. And I gotta say, everyone else around me seemed to be laughing a lot more than I was. Maybe I'm just being, a Jumanji Grinch. I don't know. But I have to say that the audience seemed to be having a good time. So you having to take in the fact that the audience seemed to be having a good time. I'll say this. I'll recommend it, but I'll recommend it that you see it during the matinee pricing or cheap day pricing at your local theater. It has some fun moments, and I'm sure kids will love it, but it's not worth full price. I'll put it that way. And you know what? There's a few things in this film I really want to talk about, so let's get into spoilers. Let's do some spoiler talk. Okay. Spoilers, warned. You have been warned. Just do a couple spoilers, and we'll get on to the other topics for this episode. So they have this new villain who once again I forget what his name is. He's not really in the movie that much. He's not memorable. He's Mr. Big Baron Von Brutal. I'll call him that. Baron Von Brutal. That was his name. That's what we'll call him. He has these hyenas that he has with him, and they say in the movie that he's mourning the loss of the person who trained the hyenas. What really happened is the hyena trainer betrayed him, and the whole time he's talking about the hyena trainer, he's feeding the hyenas pieces of meat, and then he reveals that the pieces of meat that he's feeding hyenas was the guy that he killed. For a movie with kids, that seems a little dark and gruesome that he's feeding human meat to these hyenas. I mean, yes, it's not obviously real meat, but it's in the movie it's supposed to be real. I know that the last one and this one both have elements of adult humor in it, and that's fine because I think a lot of it will go over kids' heads. I think I feel like this one had a little bit more. I'd have to go back and watch the last one, but yeah, the whole we're feeding human organs and muscle and pieces of man meat to these hyenas. It was a little too dark, and should this be in this film? I felt like it was a little too much. Anyway, forgot to put that up. And at the end of the film, so because in the last film they smashed the video game console, the Jumanji video game console, part of the film is they had to basically repair it, but it's glitching. So that's why Danny Glover and Danny DeVito get sucked into the game because the game was glitching. But one of the parts of the film they find out there's a glitch in the game where if you see water and it's got green energy in it, you can use that water to switch people's characters. So at the end of the film, like I said, they come to this point in the film where everybody the group has problems and the people can't overcome them. And part of the problem is people are playing as characters that they're not good at. Danny DeVito is not a good The Rock. Danny Glover is not a good Kevin Hart. The Fridge is not good at being Jack Black. I mean, Martha's still in Karen Gillan's body, so she's fine. But then you got Bethany, who was Jack Black in the last film, and she's stuck in this horse character body. And then you got Joe Jonas? One of the Jonas brothers, who's played, he's Colin Hanks is in his body. He's fine, which, by the way, they just come in towards the end of the film. Bethany as the horse and Joe Jonas, they just come in towards the end. I'm you guys have been kind of out of the game this whole time. Why? But anyway, so they just happen to use this convenient glitch in the game to put everyone back in their right body. Spencer, they eventually found Spencer in a thief character played by Awkwafina. So he goes back into, The Rock, and everyone's back in the bodies into the characters that they're good at. It's so instead of finding a creative way for these characters to overcome their problems, their weaknesses, their, their personal weaknesses, not the weaknesses of their character models, they just, switch it back. I'm well, that was very, very convenient. Plus now we're if you've been used to some of these characters being in some of these different bodies, now we're switching them back to the way basic, for the most part, how it was in the last one. It was we might as well have just had this the whole time. What was the point? There was no damn point. So yeah. And by the way, throughout the movie, Danny DeVito and Danny Glover's characters, they used to be really good friends, but they haven't spoken to each other in years, and they've been fighting and fighting. And what helps them to get over it. Oh, the classic, I don't have much time to live. That's why I finally came to talk to you after all these years. He's dying. It's like, wow. I just like, oh, I mean, that's just so cliche at this point. Why? It's just like I feel like they knew this movie was going to do well regardless, and they really didn't try. Because it's just like, there's so many annoying things in this movie that bring down the fun factor. Just characters being annoying, dumb, not thought through, plot devices. It's just, ugh. So at the end of the movie, Danny Glover is now in the horse body, and it turns out this horse is a Pegasus and it can fly. So at the end, they complete the adventure, they beat the game, and they're about to go back into the real world. And Danny Glover horse decides, I'm a horse that can fly. I'm gonna die out in the real world anyway. I'm just gonna stay in the world of Jumanji and take care of this place. Okay, here's the problem: is that why do you feel like you need to take care of Jumanji? It's literally a virtual death trap. Any people in this world are just video game characters. They're not real. They don't have real emotions. They don't have a soul. Nothing. That's dumb. I understand what they're going for. It's like a dying man soaring off into the great beyond and one last adventure. I get what they're going for, but it's Jumanji. Honestly, if at the end of the movie he flies off in this horse body, and I wouldn't be surprised if a fucking pterodactyl comes through and killed him, because that's Jumanji. It makes no. It just I mean, there's some dumb stuff in this movie. Anyway, I'll move on. I will move on. Okay, outside of spoilers. Anyway. So Jumanji, the next level. If you're going to go see it during the matinee, save yourself a few bucks, or go to your theater's cheap day where it's tickets are half off or whatever. Oh, man.
Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to see a full episode, I live stream every Thursday night on Facebook right after I see the movie, or you can tune in to the Revenge Online Radio Network every Friday morning at 9 a.m. If you enjoyed the show, please consider contributing to the Patreon, patreon.com/PO Vincent.